My incomplete Dharma talks are piling up. I think I have 5 now. But sometimes we need to hear just a part of something, let that settle in us before we can hear the rest. Otherwise, it's sort of like this goes right over our head, and then we miss the whole thing instead of what was the end of that conversation. And I trust the wisdom of the Dharma to present itself in such a way that it allows everyone within the hearing of its words to get just what they need at that time. I like food, but I don't want the whole week's food at one time. You know, I just need just enough for right now. And there's a satisfaction that comes in that that resists craving. I mean, your stomach lets you know, your body lets you know when you've had enough. You know, no matter how good it is, no matter how many other things were on the table that you didn't yet try, no matter how many. I used to love to go to Thanksgiving over my mother's house because I didn't learn how to cook. And so I would tell Ma, I want this and this and this and this and this, and she'd have all of those things prepared for me. Don't laugh, but I wanted pig feet, barbecue pig feet, ham hock, that, you know, some things y'all probably don't eat, but but no chitterlings, no chitterlings. And she'd have all of those things for me. And sometimes we come to the Dharma in the very same way, you know, like we want all the things, we want to know all the things, we want answers to all the questions that we have, we want to know everything, we want to, you know, we have an idea of what attainment is, and we want that. But it's like that movie I saw. Well, I'm going to open up in a minute. Like that movie I saw one day. It was Tom. No.
Thanks.
No. Top Gun guy. Tom Cruise, right. So it was Tom Cruise in starring this movie, and he says something to this general, so somebody said, like, I just want to know the truth. And the retort was, you can't handle the truth. And so it's something like that. Sometimes we want to know the truth, but it's not a matter of knowing it, it's a matter of, can you handle it? And so there's work that we have to do to get to the place that we can handle some of the things that that we actually want, that we desire. That's a good thing, but we have to get into a certain place. So there are different scopes of teaching, and there are different perspectives, like looking at something from this side, looking at it from this side, looking at it from the back, looking at it from the front, looking at it from above, looking down, looking at it from below, looking up. And if you look in all those directions, you'll see something different, but it doesn't mean the thing is different. It's just that one is having a catching a greater scope of the entirety of it. But if we were looking at it all at one time, we couldn't make heads or tails of it. So we have to break it down. We have to parcel it. We have to sometimes just get this part, and we say, and this is true. Then we go to another part, and it appears to be contradictory to what was just said, but this also is true. This whole duality that we have is around either or limited mentality. If we get it in our mind that it's this, then it cannot be this. But the expansion that we have to have is to allow something to be this and to also be this. And if we don't, then we find ourselves lopsided and one-sided, and I can't quite see you. I know what I can do. Suka and
Whoever he is.
they, I'm sorry, because I'm someplace. Can y'all move just a little bit to this side? No, no, just these two right here, this way. And you two. No more, just stay right where you are. That's perfect. Now, so the only one that I'm missing is Busita. I mean, Soma. No, don't you move. Soma's gonna move. One more. Yeah, that's wonderful. Okay, and don't move your chair, not 1 inch. Unless you're going closer to Busita. Okay. But sometimes how grace works is that we run into a circumstance. So something comes into our view and we reject it because we haven't finished chewing on this view yet. We think there's still something else to squeeze out of this. And we might even be liking our inquiry, but because we can only see 12 inches out, not 36 inches out, we don't know that something is coming that's going to prevent an inquiry in the future. Now is the time. And so we miss the time because our sense of timing or our vision only went out 12 inches. But if it could have gone out 36 inches, then we would have taken advantage of that moment, taken advantage of that bit of truth. We would have tried our best to have the view, if it's true, even though it bumps up against what I already know. If it's true, then I want it. If it's true, I want to know it. And putting that that request out to the universe, everything we toss out is like a boomerang. It comes right back. And so I'd like to encourage you today to do that. We're going to do something a little bit different today. And I really can't talk so much about what we're doing today. We're just gonna do it. But I do want you to know the value of your participation. If somebody's hungry, who here would feed them? If someone was sleeping out in the snow, who would try to find shelter for them? Yeah, so there are things that all of us can do, right? But there's some things only some of us can do. So if there's 99 people who can feed the hungry, then maybe I will let them feed the hungry, and I will use my capacity to do something that those 99 can't do. When we think about growing in the Dharma, we only think about things that we already do, things that we already know. We help in ways that we already help. But what if we press forward a little bit further so that we could pick up the uncommon abilities? Then we'd be able to do what only a few could do and help in ways that only a few can help. And that's how we move from that space of individual liberation to the bodhisattva ideal. Because for a bodhisattva, they don't have any idea of samsara and nirvana. They don't have this dual concept. They're abiding in a kind of equality. They're not thinking, I am doing, but with whatever capacity they have, the thought, the thought of responding to what's in front of them activates spontaneously. It's just a spontaneous kind of movement or awareness that's not coming from the mind of the sense gates, nor is it coming from the seventh or the eighth consciousness. So they don't have to go through this other territory to get to action. Just the thought becomes the spontaneous help. Oh, that's a good. So they don't have to think about what we will do. Now, when this starts to happen, it gets a little tricky for you because inquiring minds want to know. You want to know what it is that you are doing. That's how we are. The inquiring minds want to have a chance to check it out and work through it first and give it a trial run, or because that's how our minds work. Because we're still in that space of differentiating. So when you start moving out of that space of duality, right and wrong, good and bad, help and harm, when you start moving out of that whole thought construct completely, because your greatest aspiration is being reached through your cultivation, then something feels a little bit uncomfortable for you because a process seems to have been missed, that thinking process. And so we don't feel quite confident or comfortable. But how does one get confident or comfortable in a new way? That's not a trick question.
Continual practice.
Continually doing it, continually putting yourself there so that the ego diminishes. It has an opportunity. I mean, like you just don't need the puppy, but it takes time for that to happen. And we have to go through some uncomfortable spaces while to allow it to have its full work in us. And so I don't know where I'm going with this Donald talk, because that's not really the one that I had kind of put together for today, but we'll go with it. So today we are going to do an experiment. Suppose there was a teaching that could really liberate you or in a certain way, that could free you in a certain way, that could take you into your great aspiration. But you hadn't heard it. You hadn't heard the teaching. And so you didn't know that you could enter into it. It's like discovering a gold, what do you call it? A treasure map. Here's the treasure map, but you've never seen it, but it is in fact a treasure map. And somebody comes along and says, and you say, I'm here looking for gold, and I think I found it. Look at this. They look and say, oh, that's fool's gold. That's not, like real gold. That's but I got the treasure. Come on, follow me. Or either they can even say, you stay here. I'll go retrieve it and I'll bring it back to you. No. Oh, what a great friend that would be. And when we do our practice, we should know that it's not just a practice that we do for ourselves alone. That's why we're always offering up the merit from everything we do, so that it can inure to someone else who needs it. Then we begin to realize that some of our favor that we experience in this life is because of somebody else's work. And they have offered up the merit so that it inures to our benefit. But suppose if we could offer that, say, you stay here, you have a broken leg, you're not going to be able to make the climb to the cave where the treasure is. But I'll go get it and I'll bring it back. It's yours. I already have my treasure. Or we can share it. But in fact is, I will go and retrieve it for you. That's what I can do. And I will bring it back. And today is something like this. Because we're going to contemplate on a part of the Sutra of the Sublime Golden Light. And when I talked about it a few weeks ago, I had no idea that it would be useful to us in this way. It was like something like right in the middle of teaching on something else. It was like, jump on that. Like, but what's that got to do with what we're doing? Don't worry, just jump on that. And I did. And I said something, a little bit of something, and then left it, you know. And there was a confession in chapter 4, I believe it was. Oh, the confession was so wonderful. It was so lovely. It pulled out of you everything that you needed to say to set things right within your own heart. But that was for us. But today, there's another part of it that's for someone else. I went to Elsa and I went to see Christy last week because the doctors changed her prognosis from 6 months to a few weeks. And so then I said, well, maybe I should go up and see her now. And I went up to see her. And it was a wonderful visit. And we had purposed to stay 1 hour. When people are in transition, they do not need a bunch of people around them with all of our thoughts, because they're so wide open at that time as they're starting, to transition. They may not be talking a lot, but I'm going to tell you, as they're loosening their grip on this really solid, functional illusion that we call reality, they start to become aware that there's something else and that there's more right here in this space. And so we shouldn't trouble them so much without, I want to be with you. And really assuring them of our love. So like, who cares? You can't help me with this. So I didn't want to stay too long. And I kept checking the clock, and I glanced at Elsie because there was something, we drove 6 hours because there's something I wanted to say to her. But only to her, you know. And I didn't, I saw that opportunity like passing. So I said, I've got 5 minutes left because I only plan to stay 1 hour and I'm going to keep it to this hour. And instead of saying what I wanted to say, I said, well, I'll play a song, Here's in Heaven. And it talks about, because we've been talking and laughing and reminiscing and blah, 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 blah. And then the song starts, the atmosphere is changing now. The Pure Land beings have appeared. The evidence is all around. Buddhas, bodhisattvas here. Overflow in this place. Fill our heart with your love. Wisdom surrounds us. We're the reason you came.
Grant your blessings.
Your name. Grant your blessings, your name. Your power surrounds us. You're the reason we came.
To encounter your grace.
To encounter your grace.
Bestow your mercy.
Bestow your mercy. The power of your great vow can
empower us
now.
Great holy beings. It's a little bit different how you said it, but it's okay. I'm gonna go back into it.
Great holy beings, fall fresh on us. We
need your presence.
We need your presence.
From
I'm 74.
Our will be done here as in heaven.
Your kingdom come out.
Your
will be done
here as in heaven.
Here as in heaven.
Great holy beings.
Fall fresh on us.
We need your presence.
We need your presence. And so that's a song. So I didn't get a chance to do my Paniwadi talk with her. But this is one of our Dhamma songs. And that said everything. It was an introduction to the holy beings. And she wrote me, and then we got on the road and, and we came on back. And she wrote me the next day. And she said, there was something about the power of presence when you were there that just put me in a whole different space. And then she said, I didn't understand what it was you were basically, I didn't understand what it was you were shifting to some years ago. And it scared me. I pulled away, but now I see that there was something, like that you have attained. So she said, I want to be born in another realm. Is there some ceremony that I could do? I was not familiar with the Mahayana and the Vajrayana way. Very, very, very developed in the Theravada wisdom. And I said, yes, I'll get it together for you. So I began to ask, how can I do this? Shouldn't have time for 2 years worth of teaching, to kind of got to bypass the head, to do this. And it came to me. We got an email, was day before yesterday. Yesterday. And she said, I think I probably only have a day left or 2 days left. And I said, now she's too weak to do it, but she has the aspiration for it. And this is where friends help friends out. So today, we're going to do part of the aspirations of the sublime golden light from the Sutra of the Sublime Golden Light for her. I remember one time when I was a Christian and somebody that I knew was dying and he had done something wrong. I'm not saying Christy did anything wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just telling a different story now to help you understand the power of helps that we possess. And he had done something wrong, and I was a little bit miffed with him. And no, I won't tell that story. Another story. I was watching Soul Train one day. I was just getting
They're superstitious.
jiggy with it on the couch, and and all of a sudden, my whole frame of reference shifted, and I felt this great weight, and I began to moan and cry. I mean, just like that, just like that. And I went from my Soul Train moment to like just focused with the listening ear because something was happening and I felt that I was being summoned to participate. And I began to wail because back in those days, when you get partial understanding, there's such a yearning, but when you get full understanding, there's no yearning because you get into a space of equilibrium. Up until then, you're still weeping. You're either weeping from sorrow or you're weeping from joy and longing, But once you get beyond that, that's why it's so good to get beyond that, then you're in a place of equilibrium because you can see the whole spectrum and the illusory nature of it all as well. And so I tapped into whatever was arising that was not that, and then I began to call a person's name Jenny. And then I stayed with whatever was happening. I just stayed right there. And then it lifted. And so when it lifted, I said to my husband, I said, no, what came over me is tied to somebody named Jenny, but I don't know anybody named Jenny. I don't know anybody named Jenny. Let me think, Jenny, who do I know? What is that for? Jennifer? But I couldn't think. The only one that I could think of was an old friend's, back when I was in elementary school, I lived in that neighborhood. And then we went to different schools in junior high school. And then she was just the girl who lived around the corner and we didn't really hang out because we didn't go to the same junior high school. But she had a sister named Jenny. So I said, that's been 30 years. But she doesn't even live, I lived at 905 Urban Street. You never forget your first address. I've forgotten the last 10, but you never forget your first one. And she lived right around the corner on 10th Street. So I said, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I'm gonna go by her mother's house and see if she's still there and ask her, how is Jenny? And that's what I purposed to do. I didn't do it the next day. And you wait like 2 days or 3 days, like it starts to seem like it's not that important. That was just one of them things that those parts that came into your mind, like that's a noble thing to do. That's a special thing to do. That's a holy thing to do. That's um, I'm the chosen one. I'm getting a vision. All that stuff. So as each day went by, I felt less inclined to go. By the third day, it was back. And I said, I gotta go today. And I drove over to Miss Edwards' house, rang her doorbell. She came to the door. She didn't remember, didn't know who I was until I told her. I said, I came to see about Jenny. How's Jenny? And she said, oh, Jenny died 3 days ago. Um, and we said a few other words, and then I left. I went back home. I didn't tell her how I was feeling, but I went back and I just bawled in front of my husband. I said, I should have gone to see her, but I was putting it off, either too lazy or not, because it wasn't a thing that came to my mind in a conscious way. I didn't do it. I just didn't do it. And now it's too late to say anything to her because she's gone. And I just tried to hold that, what I felt was an error of omission, something I should have done that I didn't do. And the sadness just wouldn't leave me. And so I finally went to see my pastor and I told him what had happened. And he said, told me that's basically for my learning or my growing. We should never think that we're the only fish in the sea. And so he said, you'll have to work that out within yourself. So I went back and I got my Bible and I just started reading different things. And I turned to Thessalonians. And I was reading in Thessalonians, and I knew the Bible front and back. I was like walking, talking Bible in those days. Yeah. You would not want to run into me. You think you got some like deeply religious Christians. I was one of those. That's why I understand them, because I was one. And I read something in Thessalonians that I had never read before. How is this possible? But it said, if a man sins a sin, you could pray for him and his sins will be forgiven. That's what it said. I said, no, the way this works is if you do something wrong, you need to ask for forgiveness. If you do something wrong, you need to, like that's the way it is, And there it was right there. If a man sins a sin, you could pray for him. And we're speaking about a power that until this moment, I had not fully recognized. Truth is not just something forever established out there, but truth involves specific people, specific places, specific things. So sometimes something over here can be true for them, but something over here is equally true for them, and they don't have to be the same things. But when we get hold of something and we have an aha moment that becomes the truth for everybody. And if you don't hold fast to it in the way I do, then you're missing the truth. That's how we are. And I'm going to tell you, we can't be of much help in that way. We have to measure not with a ruler, but with a yardstick. So that freed me because I realized that in the moment, even though Diane, was my name, even though Diane's mind was not fruitful, her human consciousness was not really part of the conversation and part of the mix. That part of me that had the great aspiration to help beings was in attunement and was in operation. You need to see that in your practice. You need to allow that to have its perfect work in your conduct. And most of us are too afraid because we don't want to be too strange. And we actually want to have a say in things, Let me know first and I'll tell you if I want to do it. Kind of idea. It's got to fit within our parameters and our guidelines. Got to be 100% within our belief system, whether that's in scientism or Buddhism or any other kind of ism. And so we have all of these conditions that we are putting into place, trying to control things from the back seat, like backseat drive. But if you sit in the back seat and observe the driver, then you might learn how to drive. And one day, we become the driver. Taking refuge is like this. It's not forever being chauffeured around, but taking refuge is being put in a particular place that we can observe the driver. It's not trying to drive from the back seat, but observing the driver. And if we want to be as good a driver as the driver is, we have to be able to see ourselves as the driver. And that's where certain kinds of practices come into play that we would call in Vajrayana that we would call dharmas that we do, where for just a little while we forget about this self comprised of the five aggregates, and we imagine or visualize ourselves from the perspective of our intrinsic Buddha nature. And we use our understanding of the manifestations of this nature, the the Dhammakaya, the Namanikayas, those who have presented in our presence that we could see something. And we imagine we possess those qualities, those characters, because that's why they came. To awaken us to our original intrinsic nature. That's the Buddha nature is. The Buddha didn't come to, show us how to be happier with our things. We got sidetracked. But it was to put a face on, become a mirror image of what it is to be a fully awakened being with the capacity for helps being part of our construction. So it's not even like I am trying to help. There's not the I. There is just help. And so we do these practices to try to step out for a minute, like dressing up in mommy's high heels and hat and clothes, and parade around and look in the mirror and pretend that we're grown-ups. And then after a while, we take them off and go back to being children. But in that way. But the one who does that develops something naturally as time goes on, a sense of style, a sense of poise, because they're always playing dress up. And then they find that they have, that same kind of pizzazz in them. Like I want to be like her when I grow up. I just look at and marvel, at her clothes and how she puts them together and everything. And it's just, I don't want to really do it, but I just love looking at it because I'm like, wow, that is just so. I wait for her to come in so I can see what she has on. And that's the truth. I'm telling you, that's the truth. And so we do these kinds of practices. In the beginning, we start with the practices of cleaning ourselves up, right? Recognizing ourselves and the dastardly deeds that we do, or either we think it, even if we didn't do it. I thought it, but I didn't do it, Think about it. And then later, even when we think about it and nobody knows about it, there's some chagrin right there because I think it was Jimmy Carter who quoted a passage in the Bible that says, if a man looks upon a woman with lust with lust, he's already sinned in his heart. And they were saying, he's our president, because you got to align with liars and thieves out here in this outward way to make it. He was like a fish out of water. They're like, we can't trust this man. This man tells the truth. So sometimes we have to change residences as we grow. We have to leave a place here in our heart and move to a different place. I'm not talking about external residence. I'm talking about a place in our heart and in our mind. We certainly have to leave home, have to leave Panyawadi to be available. So all of these things that they talk about, they're like giving you examples from your ordinary human life that you could to see like the kingdom of heaven is something like this. It's this kind of attitude. It's this kind of thought. It's this kind of feeling. It's this kind of vision. And that's how it begins to move out of the realm of the intellect, and it drops into another realm of actuality, and we call it reality. And we actualize the teachings, not just think about them or talk about them. And the thought becomes the action. Now, I'm saying all of this because I'm trying to lift our minds that when I do this recitation, we're not thinking that there's anything ordinary and human that we are doing, but that we're transporting our mind, or dress up, that we're taking on the minds of the holy beings. And with this mind opening up a field of refuge. So, body, Christy, human being that I talk to and see out here, it's comprised of the 5 aggregates. I don't have to really talk to her about this. I can just do what I do. And it has its reality. We don't all have to do something for it to be done, but somebody has to do something for something to be done. So we are gonna sing a song, and I apologize because we don't have a track. We have sort of a scratch that we rehearsed from, and so you might hear me talking in the background and giving some instructions in rehearsal. Don't pay any attention to that. Don't get sidetracked. And and we haven't sung it for a long time, except I think maybe a couple of months
I
ago.
think maybe 6 weeks ago.
We did? Okay, well, we're doing it again. That was a rehearsal for today. So we'll be better today than we were 6 weeks ago, I guess.
Maybe.
Maybe. But we're gonna give it all that we have. And then I'm going to share a little bit about from just reading from the the Sublime Golden Light Sutra. And then I'm going to recite the Mahayana prayer for Christy, sharing her aspiration to be born in another realm, because she sent me an email that said, I want to be reborn in another realm. I want to be able to live amongst life, where I have no household distractions. Now, being a monk, I can tell you that's still a household of a sort. And you still have distraction. And but I catch the gist of the aspiration. And to, in these last moments of her life, to be assured that there is another realm where one can be born unencumbered by the vicissitudes of this world, where I can train uninterruptedly, then I would want it. And maybe she doesn't know the name of that world, but I do. And I'm going to complete her aspiration, because today she may not be able to do it. Okay.
Can I share something about that?
Mhm.
Incidentally, I was just reading about Buddhist concepts of rebirth and nirvana. And that living as pure a life as we can get us to nirvana. And now you're speaking of that other place that she wants to be, that other realm. It's just coincident. And the other coincidence is I was leaving the Walmart yesterday, and there were two homeless people sitting on the back edge there where the cars sometimes park. And they were bundled up like Nanook of the North, huddled together, and it was cold out. And the guy looked at me as I drove by. And I've been in a very generous mood in my life. And I thought, I have space where I can tuck them in. And then you asked the question, said, would you feed the people? And my hand went up. And he said, would you take them in and give them shelter? I didn't put my hand up, because I didn't stop for them to do that, because it would have meant such a, who knows what, change in my life and my peace that I've attained on my properties. And I don't know, I just, you always hit that nail on the head. I come in here and things that have been on my mind from when I saw them till this morning, I was still seeing that guy looking at me.
Mhm.
And thinking, how far would we go in our generosity?
Yeah, I mean, and it's wonderful whether we do the quote right thing, or have regrets that we didn't do something in the moment. It doesn't really matter in the whole scheme of things. It's that we notice, because these are the ways that we are coming to know ourselves. That's what's important. So even when I make a mistake, even when I don't do the right thing, I still rejoice in the moment, because I have learned something else about myself. And one day I'm going to be 100. I'm going to be true to myself. And it's only when one gets to that place can their thoughts and their speech and their action line up. That's why they killed Jesus. Said, this guy, his thoughts, speech, action all line up. He can't be trusted. We had to get rid of him, and they did. And so it's like that. But just think that it's through these failings, pulling back the cover, that we really come to know our true self and our true heart. And it's an individual thing that we have to walk through. I can't say, well, you should have took them home. I had a big place, but I didn't bring everybody there home. But some people there, but not everybody. That was just my own mind. But it's my mind. And I know my limitations. And I know my limitlessness in some areas. And that's what this is all about. It's Dean is always saying you do you, but actually that's a true thing, you know. I'm doing me. And then I'm looking at that and saying, am I meeting my own personal aspiration? Not the one you have for me, but the one I have for me. And we become fearless over time, and we start to walk squarely in, whatever wisdom we have, whatever compassion we have, and it just steadily grows that way.
In a moment,
Joe, pay attention.
everything can change.
Feel the wind on your shoulder.
For a minute, all the world can wait.
Let go of your yesterday.
Can you hear it calling? Can you feel it in your soul? Can you trust its longing and take control? Open up the part of you that wants to hide away. You can shine. Forget about the reasons why you can't in life and start to try. 'Cause it's your time to fly. All your worries, leave them somewhere else.
Find a dream you can follow.
Reach for something when there's nothing left.
And the world's really hollow.
Can you hear it calling? Can you feel it in your soul? Can you trust its longing and take control? Open the part of you that wants to hide away. You can shine. Forget about the reasons why you can't deny and start to try. 'Cause it's your time to fly. This is your life. Don't waste this precious moment. Don't give your power over to a mind that's out of focus. The truth is in you. Now hear your wisdom pleading. Aware of your true self. And not your human frailty. In a moment, everything can change.
Feel the wind on your shoulder.
For a minute, all the world can wait. Let go of yesterday. Fly. All the part that wants to hide away. You can shine. Forget about the reasons why you can't deny and start to try. Fly. Open up the part of you that wants to hide away. You can shine. Forget about the reasons why you can't deny and start to try. 'Cause it's your time to fly.
Time to fly. Time to fly.
In a moment, everything can change.
That's our send-off song for Christy.
What is the name of the song?
Why? It's by originally by Hillary Duff.
And we just make Buddha lyrics. So now we're using our proved weapons of spiritual warfare today. And we're able to offer something that not everyone can offer. You know how you sit and you feel helpless? I wish there was something I could do, you know. Well, this is it. And we have to see the power and the purpose of it. Whoever develops the aspiration to argue with the Tathagata will not see the Tathagata. Whatever the Tathagata says is beneficial for everyone. And therefore, whoever listens and hears that will certainly be liberated. So that's the personal guarantee that when we listen to the Tathagata, we will be liberated. But here's the other part. There will be no end to the ripening of results from hearing the Dharma. There will be no end to the ripening of results. That means that what we have heard will bring forth fruit in our lives. So when we have prayers and hopes for others, we are setting into motion the fulfillment of that, just in our very act of listening. The Tathagatas do not possess the thought, I know all fields of experience, because they do not perceive samsara and nirvana as separate. Therefore, they have no uncertainty whatsoever. They are never without wisdom in all the four kinds of physical activity. What are the four?
Lying, sitting, standing.
Okay.
And moving, right? There is no phenomena that they do not have love and compassion for. There is not a single being to whom they do not bring happiness and benefit. This is how our mind should be inclining. Like, I don't know what kind of thoughts are in your mind, but these kind of thoughts are not always in my mind. That's why I need a cheat sheet, so that when they're not in my mind, I can bring them to mind. And keep bringing them to mind until my mind is lined up with that kind of mind. So I become that. There's something lost. It's either going to be Panyawadi loses or the Tathagata loses. You know? So I know that as I keep bringing these things to mind, Panyawadi's mind is going to ultimately fall away. Someone who hears the sutra of the sublime golden light and believes in it will never fall into an existence as a hell being, an animal, a preta, or an asura, but will always be reborn among devas or humans, so that they will never have an inferior rebirth and will always serve and honor the Tathagatas, listen to and obtain the Dharma, and be reborn into pure Buddha realms. Why is that? Because they have heard an extremely profound Dharma. Those noble men and noble women are known and are prophesied by, predicted, talked about by the Tathagatas as irreversibly progressing to the highest, most complete enlightenment. Does your mind lean that way? Wherever the mind goes, that's where we go. Whatever we think and ponder upon becomes the inclination of our mind. And we always think, oh yeah, I don't want to talk about belief, like I'm empirical evidence. I don't want to talk about belief. But we're full of all kinds of belief. Like when I leave out here, my car start. There's nobody who thinks their car won't. That you don't have scientific proof it will, you just believe it will. That's all. And it may or may not. And that's our everyday human thinking. While we're thinking, we don't harbor beliefs. Concepts in the mind, whatever they are in there, that's the way we will walk out our life. And that's the world that we will see. That's the out picture that we will see. So are you thinking that as you are walking this path of cultivation, that you are irreversibly progressing to the highest, most complete enlightenment? Or you're going around with apology on your lips constantly? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I did that. Sorry I said that. Sorry I thought that. Where is your mind? The noble men and women who hear sublime Dharma just once will not malign the Buddhas, will not denigrate the Dharma, and will not defame the Sangha. In order to cause beings who have not developed good roots to develop them, and in order to cause the good roots that have been developed to increase, to become vast, and to ripen. And they will inspire all beings in all world realms to accomplish the six perfections. Is that how you're thinking about yourself? That hearing these teachings and taking up confidence in them will put you in a place that wherever you go and whoever you encounter, that it will cause the good roots that are planted in those around you to grow? Do you think about yourself in this way? Or are you thinking about yourself from the individual eye perspective everywhere you go? What's my agenda? What am I thinking and what do I want? How does this moment benefit me? What's on your mind? Are we thinking that I have need of nothing? When I step into a place, may everywhere my foot tread be for the good of those around me. May I be a shining light for the one who's in a moment of darkness. May I be an inspiration for one who's in a moment of despair. I mean, we have to change the way that we think about ourselves, and we have to change what we think about. Now, I'm not talking about from an egocentric way, but I'm just talking about forgetting about self and concentrating on others. No longer may the work I do speak for me, who I am. No longer thinking in that way, which is a good way to think, like your works are going to speak for you. Not what you say. That's a conjured city. That's an intermediate place. You got to go a lot further than that. So now it's every place my foot treads, is being given as an offering for you. That's the only way I will actually get there, is that my own mind has to enter into that field. Even though I have thoughts, in the essential nature, there are no thoughts. In essence, there is no increase or decrease. What even does that mean? Sound good? I like to memorize it so I can throw it out there. Maybe next week, like it came from me. It sounds good, but we have to really ponder, what does that mean? To open up the packaging that ultimately breaks through our illusion of self and see our Dharmakaya, to see our original nature. It is like an illusion or a dream where there is no object and no subject. Therefore, the essential nature of the Dharma body is the state of liberation, which is beyond the scope of death's realm. It rises above the darkness of samsara, and beings are unable to accomplish it, unable to reach it. It is the state in which the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas dwell. As an analogy, noble one, if there were a man who wanted gold, he would search everywhere for gold ore. And when he found gold ore, he would grind it to powder, extract its essence, smelt it, and obtain pure gold as he wished. Then he would make it into various kinds of jewelry, such as rings, and though he used it in various ways, the nature of the gold, G-O-L-D, gold, would never change at all. There will be good fortune and happiness, and the sublime Dharma will thereby spread and increase. That's one of the advantages of thinking in this way. Another advantage is there will be no invading enemies. There will be long lives and no illness. There will be good fortune and happiness, and the Dharma will spread and increase. Second, there will be harmony. In harmony, we will not quarrel, and we will avoid deception and slander, and we will find honor. Third, the people will practice true Dharma, have no illness, be happy, not die prematurely, and accomplish much merit. You know, it's true that we will die, but we don't have to die from anything. It's just when the conditions that hold this body and mind together have been used up, the extinguishment of it, then there is the separation of it. We drop it off. We don't have to die from something. We could just die. The consciousness rising and the separation, the dropping off of the garments of the body, and that consciousness moving forward. We will have love and compassion equally for all. Equally for all. Not for my party, but equally. And we will have no thoughts of malice. Not even for the ones who are doing what we call bad things. Not through malice will we be able to accomplish anything different from what they are attempting to accomplish on their side with malice. Malice is malice. And if it's the motivating factor, whether they do it or whether I do it, it's all the same. It's unleashing a power that is based in something other than fear or retaliation. And in order to have that kind of power, we have to put something else in our mind, and we have to incline ourselves towards it to see the manifestation of its qualities and character. These 6 parameters, all of these practices that we say we do and that we love, and the ways that we say we want to be until you get close to my house. No. So this is where we have to get really real. And we can know when we're getting there when our mind changes about our enemy. Our mind changes about that we can become so equal-minded that we don't even recognize an enemy. We recognize someone doing what they do, but not my enemy. And if I can cultivate the kind of mind that can become functionally clear and charged with virtue, my virtue will work for me. And if you don't think that that virtue works, then you need to get in a different camp, because you won't work it if you don't think it'll work. You won't work it. But if I think it will work, when my critical thinking mind tells me I need to charge and do this because that's the only way to protect myself from them. If I'm not practicing these dharmas, they cannot activate and be a protection and a motivating force, a overcoming power for me. So no point in wasting your time. That's why I like this passage from this sutra, because it's so powerful. It makes me decide like what do I really hold fast to? What do I really embrace? How much power do I think this practice has? How much power do I think virtue has? How much capacity do I have, to go through the rough patches? Everything wasn't their fault. Maybe it's things that I did that I shouldn't have done. Maybe there's things I should have done that I didn't do. Nevertheless, here we are now. What's the next step? I can't dwell in the past because I can't dwell in the past is gone. Can't dwell in the present moment, looking at the present moment and not seeing that it is a fruit of something that has already taken place. So there's no point saying, did you hear that? Can you believe that? Do you know it? Because that was already done in the past. This is the fruit. So if I'm looking for things to be different in the future, I have to look at what seeds I'm planting right now in this present moment, because we're going to see that soon. Some others are planting seeds. What seeds am I planting? Am I just sitting back watching them plant? Oh, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. They just got rows and rows of seeds they're planting, But I'm not planting any. That's why my flowers not growing. They planting theirs, and their weeds coming up everywhere. Now, y'all think I'm just talking about politics and all of this stuff, and I am, but I'm just including that in everything. Because this is a strain that runs throughout our whole life. Everything that's happening to us. I don't give over that authority to anybody. I'm always looking to see what is it that I need to do in this moment that makes the next moment different. Do it alone, do it together with someone. They can be human, or I can do it with devils, or I can do it with holy beings. I really get to choose. And so do you. So who are you going to align with? These are not just readings to say, oh, that sounded lovely. And the last one, it says, the last two. So we may cause the benefits of like this sutra to spread extensively. We will go to the locations of individuals who possess this sutra, and we will benefit. And the Buddhas all say, excellent, excellent. By your causing, that's you're actively doing something. First, actively listening, then contemplating. The third, getting clear about my own mind, and then taking action by your causing with dedicated minds, this true Dharma will remain in the world for a long time. So now I want to recite the long prayer. And as we're reflecting on this prayer, we're setting up the conditions for others to encounter this Dharma, setting up the conditions for our loved ones, for our friends, for our acquaintances, and even for our enemies to encounter this Dharma, that their mind can change and shift, and that they can enter into the aspiration of it. And all Buddhas are one mind, but with many different manifestations. The manifestations are just the expression of their points of power. They're all of one mind. So, I won't say it doesn't matter which one you call on, because this is all a mind thing, right? Whatever I, bring up in the mind, that's my mind. So I'm not saying that it's not real, but I'm saying it's real and it's not real. And you have to be able to stretch to both ends for there to be equality of mind, non-differentiation. We might only be able to go out this far and then we can bounce back. We go out this far and we bounce back. So this prayer is really taking refuge in Amitabha Buddha because of the vows that he made. And it is said that at one time he was a great and powerful king. And later his heart turned to the Dharma and the way that he had lived in power in the human realm. He wanted to accomplish the greatest heights in the Dharmic realm. And he made 48 vows. That yes, the kingdom was his, but he would not take that seat until he had fulfilled these 48 vows. That starts with, as long as there are still living beings who are in this condition or that condition or this shape or that shape, I will not take my seat. But I will create a Buddha field that they can come into for refuge, where there won't be so much of the suffering that there is in this world, so that they can practice purely and ultimately attain. And once they have all attained, then I myself will take my rightful seat. And here's the prayer. I single-mindedly, and just sit with this. Take refuge in Amitabha Buddha in the world of ultimate bliss. Illuminate me with your pure light and draw me in with your loving kind vows, thinking only of you now. I call the name of the Tathagata. For the sake of the Bodhi way, I supplicate to be reborn in your pure land. Before this Buddha attained Buddhahood in the past, he made this great vow. Suppose there are sentient beings that desire to be reborn in my land and think in earnest only 10 thoughts of belief and delight that they could enter there. Says, if they failed to be reborn there, then may I not attain perfect enlightenment. By virtue of these causes and conditions for thinking of this particular Buddha or this expression of Buddhahood, I have gained entrance into the Tathagata's ocean of great vows under the power of the Buddha's loving kindness. My shortcomings are expunged and my good roots grow stronger. Upon the ending of my life, I will know the coming of my time. I will have no suffering. My heart will have no greed or attachment. My mind will not be demented, but be peaceful, as if in meditative concentration. The Buddha and the multitude of holy beings holding a golden lotus-born platform in their hands will come to receive me in the instant of one thought, and I will be reborn in the land of ultimate bliss. When the lotus blossom opens, I will see the Buddha. I will immediately hear the Buddha vehicle, and my Buddha wisdom will suddenly unfold. And I will widely deliver sentient beings, fulfilling my Bodhi vow. Homage to all Buddhas of the past, the present, the Buddhas of the future, and the Buddhas in the 10 directions. Homage to all Bodhisattva as in Mahasattvas. Homage to the Mahaprajna Paramita. May I be reborn in the Western Pure Land or the world of ultimate bliss. And when the blossom opens in that newness, new life, I will see the Buddha and realize that dhammas never arise. And I will have as my companions the bodhisattvas who never regress. So that's prayer of aspiration for Christy as she enters space that she can no longer speak. She sent me an email, I think it was yesterday. And she said, since you left, I'm having thoughts are not arising. And I said, that's exactly where you want to be. Thank you so much. We're so happy to have Holcomb with us.
Yeah.
Holcomb is one of our nuns, and she's been independent for 3
3 whole years.
for 3 years. And so, I mean, I think half of you don't even know her, right?
Independent, what is independent?
That means that after a certain number of years, a nun is free to leave the monastery and to live in solitary, to live on her own, if her teacher releases her. Or, different people need different things. We don't all become monks and we all stay in the monastery forever. Some become traveling monks and they just go from place to place, leaving, no traces. Others go and they live in seclusion. Others stay in the monastery and build and reach the people. It just depends on your great wish, actually, your desire and your propensities. And so she called and she says, I want to come and visit for 2 weeks. Can I come? I said, yes, this is your home. You can come at any time. So if you want to say something,
Sure, from here.
sure, you could just stand. You can.
Hi, everyone. My intention in coming here was to firstly connect with my teacher and to connect with you all. I left the other Heartwood building very abruptly. And for that, I wanted, oh my goodness. Maybe I'm not supposed to say anything else. I wanted to apologize for that. And since I've been here, oh my goodness, the wonderful, no, I'm sorry. The wonderful, kind and loving, open arms that you all have greeted me with is just warmed my heart so much. And the invitation to join the Sangha again, to rejoin you all, I'm so honored and full of gratitude. And y'all will be seeing my little face on Zoom. I'll be joining you. So thank you so much. I'm happy to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming today. Does anybody like to say anything? Please feel free.
I think what you said for Christy, really applies for all of us. That we should all, feel confident that we can attain that next plateau and not live in fear.
Welcome home, Toka.
Happy birthday, Dina.
It's your birthday? Friday.
Yeah. So guess it was.
Good. And we're finished for today.
What's it?
Thank you.
Thank you.